Persistence of Memory, Chapter 1. It wasn't supposed to be physically possible for Erin to be awake at 1 in the morning. The medication she had taken after dinner, a handful of pills in a multitude of shapes and colors, should have put her to sleep a long time ago. Normally they did. But tonight she was still wide awake. She crossed to the window and looked out at the October sky. A few wispy clouds failed to hide the stars and a brilliant moon a few days from full. Erin pushed open the window and breathed in the chilly air. She could do that. It was her window. It wasn't locked. It wasn't shatterproof. She was grateful. Grateful, damn it. Erin sat on the floor beneath the window, tears suddenly in her eyes. This was stupid. Why wasn't she asleep? Her stomach growled, giving her a good excuse to push herself to her feet and pad across the carpeted floor to her bedroom door. She crept downstairs and snagged an apple from the fridge, but she felt queasy after 2 bites. Go to bed, Erin, she told herself. You have to be up for school in a couple of hours. She didn't know why she felt so restless, but the anxiety was like a constant itch. None of the dozens of relaxation and focusing exercises she had been taught by perhaps 100 doctors during her 16 years of life seemed to be able to calm it. Halfway back up the stairs, she heard her father's voice. Erin, is that you? It's me, she called back. Something wrong? Just went to get a snack. I'm going back to bed. He gave her a worried look as she passed him in the hallway. After all, it was 1 in the morning, and she was swaying as she walked, bumping into things, and apparently making enough of a ruckus to wake him and make him fear that his worst nightmares could be coming true. The window was hers to open, as was the front door. If she had been quieter and in a different mindset, she could have walked out and it would have been hours before her father even noticed. She crossed her arms on her chest and shivered. If she had walked out, it could have been hours before even she noticed. Sleep well, her father said, unaware of her thoughts. Remember, you have to be up at 6. Ugh, don't remind me. There was a photo album on the bookshelf in her room, and Erin picked it up on the way to her bed. The cover was fabric, embroidered with an image of a phoenix aflame. Pages inside were laminated. She didn't look through the pictures right then, just lay down, wrapped her arms around the album, and tugged the blankets over her head. Too soon it was morning, and she was sitting in her English class, stifling a yawn and doodling. The fact of the matter was, Juliet was an idiot, and Romeo was even dumber. Erin didn't care if it was a tragedy or a comedy. She didn't care what great scholars thought about the play. Frankly, the greatest love story ever written didn't appeal to her a whole lot. Who killed herself over someone she had just met 4 days earlier? Even Erin wasn't that crazy. Oh wait, not crazy. The word wasn't politically correct, according to the school counselor Erin had been forced to speak to before she was allowed to attend afternoon classes at their shiny public institution. Erin saw some of the best psychologists and psychiatrists in the nation on a daily basis. Even the woman droning on about the lewd humor in Romeo and Juliet was a nurse and a licensed clinical psychologist, in addition to being an English teacher, qualified to instruct students with moderate to severe psychiatric disabilities. They all knew that using the blanket term crazy wasn't the heart of Erin's problems. Erin? Her teacher prompted. Huh? She said with a guilty start, instinctively slapping her hand down on her drawing. I'm sorry, she added. I didn't sleep well. I spaced. Unfortunately, pretending she was listening wasn't really an option in a class with only 2 other students, especially given the fairly detailed sketch of, aw, crap. Her teacher glanced at the drawing before Erin could suddenly turn to a fresh page. The sketch had been done swiftly, but Erin's drawing skills had betrayed her, making its contents very clear. It was a sword fight in which Romeo killed Tybalt, specifically the exact moment when he stabbed him. I know, Erin protested before her teacher could say a single word. It's nothing. A girl in my afternoon classes is trying to convince me to join the fencing team, so I was thinking about stabbing people. It's a scene from the play anyway, not... It's just a doodle. Erin sighed. She had lost the argument without her instructor psychiatrist needing to say a word. Erin put down the pen, defeated. Can I just go see Tina now? If I wait until after class, I'll miss my midterm review for AP Chemistry. Her teacher nodded, and Erin left the classroom. and crossed to Dr. Tina Van Gogh's office. She and Tina had worked together for 2 years, since Aaron had left full-time hospitals and started taking classes as an outpatient private school. Aaron mostly trusted her not to overreact. She knocked and then stepped into Tina's office. She handed over the drawing with a frustrated humph as she sank into the quiet, familiar, overstuffed armchair. "Are these your English notes?" Tina asked, her voice neutral. Aaron shrugged. It was stupid, but she hadn't been paying attention to what she was drawing on the page. She rarely did. If she had a pen or pencil in hand, she was always drawing. Well, except for that one time she had stabbed the nurse in the hand, but that had been a long time ago. 3 years ago, at least. "I was thinking about fencing and the scene in the book, and it just came out," Aaron said. "It doesn't mean anything. If I were thinking about stabbing someone, why would I have drawn it?" The line of the argument wasn't going to help. "I'm sorry, I didn't sleep well, and I'm all nervous about my chemistry exam, and I don't really care about Romeo and Juliet." In a forced attempt at humor, she nodded. "Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, right?" "Sometimes," Tina said as she passed back the drawing. "You understand why we have to respond to something like this, though, right?" Aaron sighed. "Yeah, history of violent behavior, bad mixed with drawings and people being stabbed." Tina nodded. "Is there anything we need to talk about?" "It's just a response to the book," Aaron said. "Nothing more." Even so, Aaron knew she wasn't about to get off the hook quite so easily. She had been symptom-free for 18 months, long enough for her therapist trusted her to an extent. But that didn't mean there wouldn't be a little prying just in case. "You still have trouble in your chemistry class." "It's AP," Aaron said defensively, "and I'm not used to such a large class. It's a different kind of learning." Languages had always been easy for her. She was already fluent in Italian, French, and Latin, and spoke some Greek and a little Spanish. She read and comprehended literature at a college level, and when bothered to pay attention, she had a knack for remembering historical facts and dates. She hadn't had any trouble with biology or her math courses, but AP chemistry, taught in the classroom of 32 people at neighboring public high schools, was the first subject she had ever studied that was a struggle. She didn't like it. "It's good for you to be challenged," Tina insisted. "That was the one reason we wanted to transition you to public school this year. You're advanced beyond what we can offer you here." Aaron smirked. "And here I thought it was because the public school was sick of paying my private education." Every child in Massachusetts was legally entitled to a free and public education, and if the public school could not safely provide for that student, it had to pay for the student's placement in an institution that could. Aaron had been out of public school system since second grade. If everything went well that semester at Neferston Public High School, she would have a full course schedule the next year and see her shrink only once a week. Aaron still didn't think it was a good idea, but that hadn't swayed the Board of Education, or the plethora of psychologists and psychiatrists and teachers, or her father. None of them seemed to remember that she wasn't a normal girl, and if things didn't go well, that meant she might have. "Regardless, it is good for you and to be dealing with some harder subjects. Are you still helping that girl from your French class?" "Yeah," Aaron answered, shifting nervously. "Marissa is actually in my chem class too. So she's been helping me there. But I really don't want to miss my chem review." Tina glanced at the clock. "You've got time." Aaron leaned back in the chair and added, "Marissa is the captain of the fencing team. Their season starts today, and she's been pushing me to join. It's hard to tell her that I can't." "You didn't mention you were thinking of joining a sports team," Tina said, surprised. "I'm not thinking of it," Aaron said quickly. "I'm not even supposed to draw a sword fight. I don't think you guys would love the idea of my participating in one. It's just that," she hesitated, trying to be careful with what she said so that she wouldn't raise any more red flags that day. "It's nice to have a friend at school, and I don't want to let her down, and I like the idea of being invited to do things and other kids do." "Are you just worried about what I will say if you join the team?" Tina asked. "Or are you having troubling thoughts on the matter?"